Episode 37, welcome back to the GBGuns Armory, where we're taking a look at stuff that has been reviewed in the past, kind of bringing some light to it and giving a little more thoughts and feels. Also, since the stuff isn't brand new anymore, this video is your chance to share your experience, comments, and thoughts now that thing's been out for a while. All the release hubbub and craziness is done. Now it's time to talk about the gun. So what do we have here? Well, this Stoeger is a striker-fired tactical gun. This is the STR9S Combat is the model. Pinned comment will be the full review for those of you wanting the details or to learn a little more about this thing. But we have metal mags, we get metal extended base plates. It's got a nice, generous, without being obnoxious, aluminum magwell. We have adjustable fiber optic sights that are standing tall for the threaded barrel and optics cut. So if you want to run a can on it, you want to put an optic on it, either way, you're still going to use your sights, which is great. Neat little touch is that thread protector is low profile enough to fit through the muzzle of the gun, so you don't have to unthread the dang thing every time you want to take it apart and then thread it back on afterwards. All that sounds pretty good. I didn't have, that I can recall, any major issues with the gun. The trigger feel to it is acceptable. Nothing crazy in either direction. Overall, just a decent gun, and these are available at a reasonable price. Probably because they're not the most popular thing out there. Also, they are made in Turkey, so that helps cut down on production costs. But we know of other guns made in Turkey that became really popular and then prices went up. My feels about this gun is that it could be more, and the line could be a whole lot more if enough people got into it. And I think that's what ends up happening with these. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this kind of stuff, but we get these imports in, and even if it's from a reputable brand, a brand that's been around for a while, people are still kind of nervous to adopt them. And this downward spiral is they seem nervous to adopt them because there's not a lot of aftermarket support. I'm not big on aftermarket. Get me a holster, make sure I have mags and parts available if something breaks. Very rarely have I had something break that the warranty couldn't take care of, but still, I get it. We like to tinker with guns, so that happens, right? But it doesn't happen if people don't buy the gun. That's the spiral. And when it spirals upwards and gets really popular, then prices go up and it gets scarce. And the whole demand and supply feed effect hasn't seemed to hit this other than maybe putting it into obscurity. Now, as with all videos in the series, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on these. Have you ever seen one? Have you owned one? Do you know someone who has? Have you shot one? Because, I mean, we've got a metal guide rod in there. This has, on paper, everything that people would be looking for in such a gun of the tactical nomenclatures, which is what most people tend to tack onto something that's got optics height or suppressor height sights, because that sounds cooler than a threaded barrel. I used to laugh about the threaded barrel thing because I know for a fact by the numbers that it's only about 1% of gun owners have suppressors. When we consider most suppressor owners have multiple suppressors, that takes that 1% down even smaller, looking at the raw number of registered suppressors that are out there versus Americans. Which is another question I have for you. Do you go for a threaded barrel because of the dream or the potential future of having a suppressor? Now that comps are becoming a trend again, is that why people want threaded barrels? I don't get it. My only guaranteed like about a threaded barrel is it means the barrel is typically about a 1/4 inch longer, so we're getting a little bit more velocity. That helps the rounds hit harder, even though the slide is not necessarily bigger. So you're getting bigger gun performance for the same general gun weight. It doesn't add a lot of weight, but I don't know. Some questions. Another interesting thing, as I recall in reviewing this, is the texture on these grips. It's pretty darn aggressive. And when we reviewed the compact model of this, those spiky teeth really dug into the hand, and it was borderline uncomfortable. I did not feel that on this gun. My theory on that is, since it's a heavier gun, you've got less recoil, Since it's a longer, slower moving slide, you've got a gentler recoil impulse on top of that. Plus, I can get my whole hand on here, so I'm able to distribute that pressure and those forces across my hand differently. This is why I generally say bigger the better as far as shooting. The larger the gun you can get away with, the better time you're likely to have with it. And that was definitely something that came true to me in shooting this full-size Stoeger versus shooting the compact earlier. Let me know what questions you have and what your thoughts are on these, as well as your experience. I think it's a pretty good gun. No major complaints come to mind. It's been a while since I've shot it. Maybe I'll take it back out. Maybe that's something that we can do with these, as well as sort of a revisit here on the second channel. Let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.